When looking at our finances, we must identify exactly where we are. Today we understand why it is important to understand where we are now as an investor and, more importantly, where we are going. Sean, why is it important for us to distinguish between an inexperienced, experienced and professional investor?
It's a current question. In the olden days when I first started, the first set of laws I ever saw from a regulator started off with you can't stop a fool from parting with his money. So that used to be the basic principle. Fools will part with their money and you can't blame the financial advisor. But regulators are trending in a different direction now. The real issue is what sort of the regulator wants the financial advisor to discern between inexperienced, experienced professional investor. And a lot of laws are being written with that principle as a background. So for example, RDR in the UK and the Australians have something called FOFA, the Future of Financial Advice. All of it seemingly has commissions, the attack on commissions and the way people get paid at the heart of it. But underneath that there is also a current of making sure the retail investor, the inexperienced investor, gets sold things he understands, which means you can't sell the inexperienced investor complex structures such as hedge funds or black boxes such as some of the hedge funds produce, which are fascinating to me or to many high net worth professional investors, but they're dangerous to people who don't understand them. Because
so it seems the regulation has really benefited then for investors to be able to then just distinguish.
That's the job of the regulator, amongst other things. You know, they've got a list of things to do, and protecting the consumer will be at the heart of his job.
Why is this important for the individual to know what type of investor they are?
Well, the individual investor needs to know what recourse he has. So if he identifies himself as an inexperienced investor, then he surely should have extra protection against people selling him stuff than if he says, look, I understand. So professional investor, in-house, in our house, we define a professional investor, someone with more than $1 million of assets, tells us his knowledge is good, and of course that would be signed off in a fact find, and he's been investing for more than 4 years. He's been through a couple of ups and downs in a market cycle. Now that guy, of course, he will find it more difficult to say, I didn't understand this complex product, and we want him to say who he is in the first place.
Yeah.
So to protect yourself, if you don't understand your products, you're better off saying, actually, I'm an inexperienced investor, I haven't been investing that long, my knowledge is poor, and those comments should be written down somewhere, and in many of the more mature markets, that's enough to defend you against mis-selling and being sold complex products.
And even impacting on the product they end up taking themselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, what type of advisor should we seek?
Well, good question, and a very easy answer. The only good advisor is one you trust. The question is, how do you know who a trusted advisor is, or who is a trusted brand? So word of mouth, very, very useful, of course, but there should be a shopping list on before anybody's purchase, and they should include what are the local regulators' qualification requirements. So now, even in the UAE, ESCA, for example, have said that financial consultants must have a number of CISI exams. So has your advisor got those CISI exams?
And ESCA are a regulatory body.
Yeah, they're
here.
the investment regulator, one of the financial services regulators, but they are the investment regulator. So if we're talking about money going up and down, a lot of their business is involved with the investment side. So is your advisor regulated? Does he have a license? You know, if he doesn't have a license, what recourse do you have as an investor? If he does have a license, then you can go and complain to the regulator, and the regulators here do have complaints departments, so something will happen.
And you talked a little bit about trust. What are the things that we're looking for in an advisor to feel that we can get that trust?
For me, if I'm looking at other advisors, I do wonder why a financial advisor wouldn't put his recommendations in writing. I would wonder why a financial advisor gets all the facts from an interview down in 2 pages. Our fact find is 20 pages. I'm not saying you always need 20 pages, but I would wonder why wealthy people would want to trust an advisor who fills in facts find with 2 pages, doesn't produce written reports.
So really the depth of
Yes,
their
yeah.
paperwork.
Depth of understanding through qualifications, depth of paperwork that demonstrates a serious discussion about where you are today,
Yeah.
what you want to achieve in the future, and then putting the plan together.
So let's say I've established I'm an experienced investor or an inexperienced investor and I'm ready to see an advisor. What should I expect from that first interview with them?
Well, of course, the experienced advisor will have some knowledge of what advisors, what you can expect from an advisor, but inexperienced advisors should expect a thorough investigation of their present position and what they want to achieve in the future and when, in order that you've got the bedrock of a plan. Now, I wouldn't expect the plan to be put together in that meeting, but I would expect my financial advisor go away, do some research, look at the things that I've told him I need, look at my present position, look at how much what I've got is going to get me to where I want to be in the future, and then give me advice on that journey. And if you don't get that sense, then you're not really talking to a financial planner.
And is there anything that I can do to well prepare myself for that meeting?
Well, yes, if I would love people to come up with all the facts and figures on their present position, the address of their house, the actual state of their mortgage, the policy number of their last pension scheme, the date it started, the date it matures. Yeah, the more information you bring, the luckier that financial advisor is going to be, because he's got it all there and he can herd it into a balance sheet quite quickly.
So it's back to know your own numbers.
Yes, yeah.
Once you know where you are, this is the stepping stone for you to now decide where it is you want to go. This puts you in a place of empowerment.